afternoon and welcome to Let's Grow Shopping. Today I'm going to try and put in two bare rooted fruit trees. I got gifted two fairly mature fruit trees yesterday that we had to prune right back and dig out of the ground. So some of the roots have been damaged. It may succeed, it may not, but I'm going to give it a go. So the bed behind me here I'm going to clean out and I've earmarked that for these two trees. Two apple trees, so that we're at the end of end of winter right now, spring in a couple of weeks. They still haven't budded or anything, so it's not such a bad time to do it, but I would have preferred to do it about a month earlier. But you know, now's when it needed to be done, so I'm gonna give it a go. Okie dokie. So we have cleared out this garden bed, and I've got two big patches of brown soil you can see where I'm going to plant the trees. I just want to try and illustrate something, and I hope it comes across okay, just like this demonstration. I can't really tell you how to plant fruit trees because it all depends on your soil and the aspect, but I can give you some tips on what to look for. So you need to look for somewhere in full sun, which this is. It faces northeast. Once the trees grow up, they'll be big enough to get western sun as well. And the soil needs to be extremely well draining. Like most fruit trees, especially European sort of apples, pears, peaches, plums, the normal sort of supermarket fruit trees, not tropical fruit. Well, tropical fruit trees like well draining soil as well, but for European fruit trees, fairly shallow rooted trees, and they need really well draining soil, so it needs to be moist but not waterlogged. And that is greatly dependent on your soil. So if you have clay soil, it's way more likely to be waterlogged, and I'm hoping to demonstrate that. So you can see I've planted a bucket and that, let's just pretend that's in my front garden, which is where the clay is. And down here at the back on the cliff, I've made this garden bed from scratch. It's full of organic matter, and I'll just pick some up. It needs a bit of a water, this garden bed. It's as dry as a bone, but you can see it's very friable soil, and so that will be a lot better draining. So I've got the hose ready to go. Oh, there's Mr. Worm. Say hello. I've got the hose ready to go, and a good test is try and fill the hole up with water. And so these are the two extremes. I don't think this is going to fill up at all. It's going to keep draining away. And this is how you need it. The shallow roots need to be in very damp, organic matter rich soil that ideally you wouldn't let dry out too often. And so you can see that hole isn't really filling up. There's a bit of a puddle in the bottom. If I turn it off, essentially, yeah, so you can see that draining away there instantly. I did a hole in the front garden, I filled it up with water like that, and it did something a bit more like this. Which, if there's no hole in the bucket, you can tell what's going to happen. It just fills up with water and never drains away. So this hole in the front garden that I dug, the water stayed there for 2 days. So if you've got this situation and the water will not drain out, you need quite a big hole and fairly deep, probably about 400, at least 400 mil deep. And if I was doing it with a bare rooted fruit tree like I've got today, I'd go at least maybe 1.5 meters diameter of the circle of the hole that you dig, and 400 mil deep. And so that's quite a lot of earth, and it's quite hard work. And I'll demonstrate in a minute what I do to plant a fruit tree. And the only thing different with clay soil is that I make sure it's a mound. So you want to get the top sort of 200 mil of roots of your tree clear of the clay. So you need the mound to be at least 200 mil high above the clay level. And that's just to let those surface roots be in free draining soil. The tap roots and the main roots can go and find water where they need it, and they probably will go down into the clay, but those surface roots need to be not waterlogged. The clay is way more likely to just stay like that, a bucket full of water, and your roots will rot and the tree will die. So yes, with clay soil you need a mound. In this kind of soil over here, you just need to dig a hole. Because you are waiting such a long time and it's a tree, and generally speaking if you've bought it, it's cost you quite a bit of money, you want to do this to the best of your ability. So you've got a bit more invested in this than just say a sweet potato which is growing next door to this tree. You can do sweet potato cuttings as much as you like, but a tree is sort of, I don't plant trees very often anymore. This is the first tree I've planted in probably 6 months, I think, like a big tree. So yeah, you want to make sure it goes well straight from the start. I've wet through the hole again with water and the bottom of the tree, and over here I've got a bucket and a half of compost, which is what's left from my old pile, and I've filled the bucket with water to make sure that compost is saturated as well. So you've got plenty of water in the bottom of the hole. There's no excuse for it drying out too quickly. And just to make sure it gets a good start, I've mixed together some blood and bone and chicken pellets, and I sprinkle a handful in the bottom of the hole. So I'll probably put about a quarter to half a bucket of compost in the bottom of the hole, a handful of pellets and blood and bone, then fill the hole, put the tree in to the depth I need it with the rest of the soil, and then sprinkle a bit more compost on the top and another handful of blood and bone around the top. And I'm going to have to put a stake around these two trees as well. There's the compost. A handful of blood and bone and chicken pellets. So if you're in clay, you'd be up to about the bottom of the tree here would be about there. So you'd want to make a pretty deep mound for the surface roots to not be caught in the clay. So just sort of compact that a bit to try and push out a bit of air and steady the tree up. It's actually quite solid in there. And then we'll put blood and bone down first, and the chicken poo, and we'll chuck a bit more sodden compost around the top. And then just give it a really good water in and make sure everything's soaking. So all that water should continue to drain away from the surface, which it is doing, which is awesome. With the mound, if you're digging a hole into clay soil, I put the compost in first, then the handful of blood and bone, then I usually either try and mix in the clay that I've took out with some more compost or some more organic matter, like well-rotted wood chip is a good idea, and fill the hole with that. And I generally find that to make a mound, I have to import soil from somewhere. So getting hold of mushroom compost, anything you can to make the bulk out the soil to get the 200 mils above the old soil level. If you've got that much of your own compost, definitely use your own compost. Great idea. Mix it in with the clay. You want to break up that clay and get it rich in organic matter. One of the bonuses about this location is that I had to chop up a salvia to make room for these trees. So I just literally chopped and dropped it in little bits and left it where it is. So it's all here behind. And so now I can use that as a layer of mulch on the top. And I don't have to compost it or anything. I just spread it out. And so when it's finished, I'll have a nice layer of mulch all ready to go around the tree. Another great plant to have around is comfrey. And so growing comfrey around your fruit trees means you can do this. A comfrey is a bioaccumulator. It accumulates nutrients in its leaves, and it's great. It's a great layer of mulch. You get a mat of comfrey, and it sort of protects the soil quite a lot. And it's plant food. The best plant you can't eat. And there you have it. 2 newly transplanted fruit trees, mulched and comfreyed. Thank you for watching. I'll see you soon.